Worthless moon base becomes a thriving colony. Earth's elite didn't expect this secret. Part 1. The transport ship shook hard as it entered the moon's shadow. Inside the dark cargo hold, 200 people sat in silence. Their hands were bound with plastic ties. Their clothes were thin and dirty. They were the unwanted ones, the troublemakers, the people Earth no longer needed. Sung sat near the back wall. He was 42 years old with gray hair at his temples and calm eyes that watched everything. 3 months ago, he had been one of the best engineers on Earth. Now he was a criminal, convicted of sabotage he did not commit. The real crime was that he had asked too many questions about where the power company's money was going. Beside him sat a young man with bruises on his face. His name was Du, and he was only 24. He had stolen medicine from a hospital because his little sister was dying and he could not afford the treatment. The Global Prosperity Council did not care about dying children. They only cared about protecting their property. "First time on the moon?" Sung asked quietly. Du nodded. His eyes were red from crying. "They said my sister died 2 days after they arrested me. I never got to say goodbye." Sung put his bound hands on the young man's shoulder. There were no words that could help. He simply sat with him in the darkness. Across the hold, Park stared at the metal floor. She was 35, a scientist who had spent her life studying plants and food production. Her crime was publishing research that proved the GPC was adding chemicals to food supplies that made people tired and easy to control. The paper disappeared from the internet within hours. She disappeared a week later. Near the front, Min leaned against the wall with her eyes closed. She was 38, a former military medic who had served with honor for 15 years. Then came the order to inject prisoners with experimental drugs. She refused. Her commanders called it treason. The ship landed with a heavy thump. Red lights flashed and the cargo doors opened slowly. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of metal and recycled oxygen. "Welcome to Lunar Station Omega 7, a tired voice announced through old speakers. "Please exit in an orderly manner. Any resistance will be met with force." The prisoners walked down the ramp into a gray corridor. The walls were stained with rust and age. Lights flickered overhead. This place was old, forgotten, built decades ago and never properly maintained. A man waited for them at the end of the corridor. He was thin and pale, with the look of someone who had given up on life long ago. His name tag said, Administrator Gong. "I will make this simple," Gong said in a flat voice. "You are now residents of Omega 7. This station was built 60 years ago to mine resources. The resources ran out. Now it is a place for people like you, people Earth does not want." He coughed and continued. "There are 800 people here already. We receive supplies from Earth every 3 months. The supplies are never enough. You will work. You will follow rules. You will not cause trouble. If you cause trouble, we will put you outside without a suit. Do you understand?" No one answered. Gong did not seem to expect an answer. Guards led them deeper into the station. Sung observed everything with his engineer's eyes. He saw broken pipes that leaked precious water. He saw electrical panels that sparked dangerously. He saw air vents covered in dust. This place was dying and the people running it did not care. They were assigned to living quarters. 20 people shared one room with bunk beds stacked 3 levels high. The mattresses were thin. The blankets were old, but it was better than the transport ship. Sung found Du and Min in the same section. He learned their names and their stories. Each one had been punished for doing what was right. Each one had been thrown away by the powerful elite who ruled Earth. "How long do people survive here?" Min asked a woman who had lived at Omega 7 for 2 years. The woman laughed bitterly. "Average is 3 years. Some make it longer if they are lucky. Others give up and walk outside. It happens more often than they admit." That night Sung could not sleep. He walked through the station's corridors studying its structure. The base was large, much larger than he expected. Entire sections were closed and locked. Signs warned of structural damage and dangerous conditions. He found the hydroponic farm on level 3. The plants looked sick, yellow and weak under failing lights. A few workers moved between the rows with tired movements. Was there too, unable to sleep. She knelt beside a tomato plant that was barely alive. "The nutrient solution is wrong," she said without looking up. "The pH is too high, the lights are the wrong spectrum, and I think there is a fungus spreading through the soil substitute." "Can you fix it?" Sung asked. "Maybe, if I had proper equipment, if anyone here cared enough to try." She finally looked at him. "But nobody cares, do they? We are all just waiting to die." Sung was quiet for a moment. Then he sat down beside her on the cold metal floor. "What if we stopped waiting?" he said. Frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we decided that we are not going to die here? What if we decided to actually live?" She stared at him like he was crazy. "How? Earth sends barely enough supplies. The equipment is failing. The people here have lost all hope." "Then we will find hope," Sung said simply. "We have engineers, scientists, doctors, teachers, mechanics. We have people with skills that the GPC was afraid of. That is why they sent us here. They did not send us because we were worthless. They sent us because we were dangerous." Thought about this. For the first time in months, something stirred in her chest. It felt strange and unfamiliar. It took her a moment to recognize it as hope. Over the next week, Sung moved quietly through the station. He talked to people. He listened to their stories. He found the ones who still had fire in their eyes, the ones who had not completely given up. Du turned out to be a brilliant mechanic who could fix anything with enough time and parts. Min knew medicine and battlefield surgery. An old teacher named Ho had wisdom and kindness that drew people to him. A young data analyst named Lee, one had been exiled for discovering financial crimes. One by one, Sung gathered them together in an abandoned storage room far from Administrator Gong's eyes. "The GPC wants us to die quietly," Sung told them. "They want us to lose hope and fade away, but I have seen this station. I have studied its structure. There is more here than they know, more than they want us to find." "What are you saying?" Du asked. Sung looked at each person in the room. Engineers, scientists, teachers, healers, the people Earth had thrown away. "I am saying that we can do more than survive," he said. "We can build something new, something they never expected. Are you with me?" The room was silent for a long moment, then stepped forward. "I am with you," she said. One by one the others nodded. Min Du, one, Old Ho. Outside the storage room, the station groaned and creaked. 800 souls waited in darkness, not knowing that everything was about to change. The revolution had begun with a whisper. Worthless moon base becomes a thriving colony. Earth's elite didn't expect this secret, Part 2. 3 weeks passed since the secret meeting in the storage room. Sung and his group worked carefully, never drawing attention to themselves. During the day, they did their assigned jobs like everyone else. At night, they planned. The first step was understanding the station. Du spent every free moment studying the old engineering diagrams he found in a forgotten computer terminal. The maps showed sections of Omega-7 that nobody talked about anymore. Tunnels that led deep into the lunar rock. Mining shafts that had been sealed decades ago. "The GPC said this area was empty," Du explained one night, pointing at the old screen. "They said all the valuable minerals were gone. That is why they turned this place into a prison." "Do you believe them?" Sung asked. Du shook his head. "I do not believe anything the GPC says anymore." On the other side of the station had begun quietly improving the hydroponic farms. She worked slowly, making small changes that the overseers did not notice. She adjusted the nutrient levels. She cleaned the filters. She taught other workers the right way to care for the plants. Within 2 weeks, the tomatoes started to grow green again. The lettuce became crisp. The soybean yields increased by 15%. It was not much, but it was something. If I had proper equipment, told Sung, I could triple our food production. We would not need Earth supplies at all. This was the dream. This was what they were working toward, true independence. One evening, a woman approached Sung in the cafeteria. She was about 40 years old with short gray hair and careful eyes. Her name was, and she had been at Omega-7 for 5 years. I know what you are doing, she said quietly, sitting across from him. Sung kept his face calm. I am eating dinner, nothing more. Smiled slightly. You are organizing people. You are looking at the old sections. You are asking questions about the mining tunnels. And if I am? Then I want to help, she leaned closer. I was a geologist before they sent me here. My crime was refusing to approve false reports about mineral deposits. The GPC wanted me to lie so they could steal land from communities. I would not do it. Sung studied her face. He had become good at reading people, at knowing who could be trusted. He saw something in his eyes that told him she was genuine. What do you know about the tunnels? He asked. I know that the GPC lied about them being empty, she said. I know because I have been down there myself. That night led Sung due, and through a maintenance hatch that most people had forgotten existed. They crawled through narrow passages, their flashlights cutting through decades of darkness and dust. 5 years ago I was curious, explained as they moved. I wanted to know why they really abandoned the mines, so I started exploring. What did you find? Asked. You will see. They climbed down rusty ladders, passed through broken doorways, and finally emerged into a massive cavern. Their flashlights could not reach the ceiling. The space was enormous, carved by ancient machines that now sat silent and forgotten. But that was not what made them stop and stare. Ice, everywhere there was ice. Massive walls of frozen water stretched in every direction, glittering under their flashlight beams like diamonds. Millions of tons of it, hidden beneath the lunar surface. How is this possible? Whispered. She was a scientist and she knew that water on the moon was supposed to be rare. Tiny deposits in shadowed craters. Not this. Never this. I do not know how it formed, admitted. But it is here. More water than Omega-7 could use in 1,000 years. Sung walked forward and touched the ice wall. It was real. It was solid. It was the most valuable thing he had ever seen. Why did the GPC hide this? Du asked. Think about it, Sung said slowly. If people knew there was water here, they would want to come. They would want to build. They would want to live. But the GPC does not want people living on the moon. They want to control who goes to space. They want to keep everyone on Earth dependent on them. He turned to face the others. This is not just water, this is freedom. Over the next few days, they explored deeper. The caverns stretched for kilometers beneath the crater, and there was more than just ice. Found mineral deposits that the GPC scanners had somehow missed. Rare Earth elements, metals that were worth more than gold on Earth. Lee Won, the data analyst, spent hours searching through old GPC files on the station's neglected computers. What he found made him angry. They knew, he told the group during their next secret meeting. I found internal reports from 30 years ago. The GPC knew about the water and the minerals. They deliberately buried the information. They classified everything and told the public that Omega-7 was worthless. But why, Min asked. Why waste so much wealth? Control, Sung said. The same reason they do everything. If the moon becomes valuable, ordinary people will want to come here. They will want opportunity. They will want freedom. The GPC cannot allow that. They need everyone to stay on Earth where they can be watched and controlled. Understood now. So they turned this place into a prison. They sent the troublemakers here to die, knowing we would never discover what was right beneath our feet. They underestimated us, Du said with a fierce grin. The group began their secret work. They could not tell everyone yet. Administrator Gong reported to the GPC. There were probably informants among the population. One wrong word and everything would be lost. They formed small teams. Du led a group of mechanics who began repairing the old mining equipment in secret, started planning expanded farms that could use the ice water. Min began collecting medical supplies and training assistants, continued mapping the underground caverns. It was dangerous work. They could only operate during the station's night cycle when most people slept. They had to avoid security cameras, suspicious guards, and curious neighbors. One night they had a close call. A guard found Du in a restricted corridor near the mining tunnel entrance. Du's heart pounded in his chest. "What are you doing here?" the guard demanded. Du held up a toolbox. "Water pipe burst in Section 7. Administrator Gong sent me to fix it." The guard frowned. "At this hour?" "Water does not wait for morning," Du said with a shrug. The guard considered this, then stepped aside. "Be quick about it." Du nodded and walked past. His hands were shaking, but he did not let it show. When he told the story later, everyone agreed they needed to be more careful. Weeks turned into a month. The ice extraction began in small amounts. They melted it, purified it, and secretly added it to the station's water supply. For the first time in years, people at Omega 7 did not have to ration every drop. Nobody knew why the water suddenly seemed more plentiful. The administrators assumed it was a mistake in the measurements. The residents simply felt grateful and did not ask questions. In the hydroponic farms, work continued. The plants grew stronger. Food portions increased slightly. People started to look less thin, less tired. One evening, Sung stood at a window looking out at the gray lunar landscape. Earth hung in the black sky, blue and beautiful and far away. "Joined him, do you miss it?" she asked. "I miss what it could have been," he replied. "I miss the world I thought I was living in before I learned the truth about the GPC. Do you think we can really do this, build something new here?" Sung was quiet for a moment. Then he pointed at the ice-covered darkness beyond the window. "Out there is everything we need. Water, minerals, space to grow. The only thing we were missing was hope, and now we have that too." He turned to face her. "Yes, I think we can do this. I think we can build a home." In the caverns below, the ice waited. In the station above, 1,000 people slept without knowing that their world was about to change forever. The secret was safe, for now. Worthless moon base becomes a thriving colony. Earth's elite didn't expect this secret, Part 3. 6 months had passed since Sung first called his secret meeting. The changes at Omega 7 were slow but steady, like a flower pushing through concrete. Most residents did not understand why things were getting better. They only knew that somehow, life had become less hard. The water supply was stable now. The farms produced enough food that nobody went hungry. Du's repair teams had fixed the worst of the failing equipment, always working quietly, always avoiding attention. More importantly, the people had changed. There was less despair in their eyes. Children played in the corridors instead of hiding in corners. Adults talked about tomorrow instead of just surviving today. Sung's inner circle had grown carefully. Each new member was tested, watched, and trusted before learning the full truth. Now nearly 50 people knew about the ice caverns and the mineral deposits. 50 people keeping the most important secret on the moon. A woman named Shin had joined them 3 months ago. She was 33, a teacher and child psychologist who had been exiled for refusing to implement GPC education programs that taught children to obey without question. Now she ran a small school in a converted storage room. "Education is the most dangerous weapon," told Sung one day, watching her students work on simple math problems. "That is why the GPC controls it so carefully on Earth. They teach people what to think, not how to think." "And here," Sung asked. "Smiled, here, I teach them to ask questions. I teach them that their ideas matter. I teach them that they can build anything if they work together. There were 47 children at Omega 7 now, ranging from toddlers to teenagers. Some had been born here. Others had arrived with their convicted parents. For most of their lives, they had known nothing but fear and scarcity. Now they were learning to dream. Old Ho had become the heart of the community. At 67, he was one of the oldest residents. His crime had been organizing workers at a factory to demand safer conditions. The GPC called it rebellion. Ho taught traditional crafts to anyone who wanted to learn. He showed people how to make useful items from scraps and recycled materials. More than that, he told stories. Old stories from Earth about heroes and struggles and hope. Every civilization needs stories, Ho explained to the children gathered around him one evening. Stories teach us who we are. Stories remind us what we can become. Tell us about the Moon People, a little girl named Mira requested. She was 5 years old and had never seen Earth. Ho smiled. Ah, the Moon People. They were the exiles, the forgotten ones. Earth threw them away like garbage, but the Moon People were clever and strong. They found treasures hidden in the darkness. They built a world with their own hands, and one day they became greater than anyone imagined. The children listened with wide eyes. They did not know yet that Ho was telling them their own story. The transformation continued underground as well, had mapped over 20 kilometers of caverns now. The ice deposits were even larger than they first believed, and the mineral deposits kept growing more valuable. We have enough rare Earth elements to build 100 space stations, reported during a planning meeting. Enough metals to construct ships. The GPC buried a fortune here. They did not bury it, one corrected. They hid it from humanity. There is a difference. The quarterly supply ship arrived right on schedule. The colonists had prepared carefully. They hid their improvements, let dust gather in certain areas, made sure the visible parts of the station looked as struggling as always. Administrator Gong gave his reports to the ship's captain. Population stable, conditions adequate, no problems worth mentioning. The captain did not inspect closely. Nobody from Earth ever inspected closely. Omega 7 was a dumping ground, not a priority. The ship unloaded its minimal supplies and departed within hours. When the ship's lights disappeared into space, Sung allowed himself a small smile. Another 3 months of safety, another 3 months to build. But one brought disturbing news a few days later. He had intercepted communications between the supply ship and GPC headquarters on Earth. They are planning to phase out Omega 7, one said grimly. Within 2 years, they will stop all supply shipments. The room fell silent. Min was the first to speak. What happens to us then? They do not say it directly, one replied. But the meaning is clear. They will leave us here to die. Then they will probably tell the public that the station was lost to equipment failure, a tragic accident, no one to blame. Felt her hands shake with anger. They are going to murder 1,000 people just to keep their secrets. We cannot let that happen, Du said fiercely. Sung stood up. We will not let that happen. We have 2 years, maybe less. That is our deadline. By then we must be completely self-sufficient. We must not need anything from Earth. Is that possible? Asked. It has to be possible, Sung replied, because the alternative is death. The work intensified after that night. The secret teams expanded. More people were brought into the truth, carefully selected individuals who could be trusted. The number grew to 100, then 200. They converted abandoned sections into new living spaces. They built better air recycling systems. They expanded the farms until they stretched through 3 entire levels. They manufactured tools and equipment from local materials. Min established a proper medical center with real beds and organized supplies. She trained assistants in basic procedures. For the first time, People at Omega 7 had access to decent health care. The children flourished in schools. Teenagers who had arrived hopeless now talked about becoming engineers and scientists and doctors. Little Me announced that she wanted to be the best farmer on the moon when she grew up. One night the colony held a secret gathering in the largest cavern. Over 300 people came, the ones who knew the full truth. They sat on rocks and makeshift benches, their faces lit by portable lights. Sung addressed them. 6 months ago we were dying. We were abandoned, forgotten, waiting for the end. But we refused to accept that fate. We chose to live. We chose to build. He gestured at the ice walls surrounding them. This is our treasure, not because of what it is worth in money, but because of what it means for our future. Water is life. With water we can grow food, make fuel, create oxygen. With water we do not need Earth anymore. Murmurs passed through the crowd. For many this was still hard to believe. The GPC wants to abandon us, Sung continued. They want us to die quietly so they can keep their secrets, but we are not going to die. We are going to build a new world here, a world where people like us are not thrown away, a world where everyone matters. Stepped forward. This is not just about survival, it is about showing Earth what humans can do when they are free. The GPC tells people that they are weak, that they need leaders to control them. We are going to prove them wrong. The crowd was quiet for a long moment. Then Old Ho rose to his feet. I vote yes, he said simply. I vote for freedom. One by one others stood. Min Du, 300 people rising to their feet in the ancient cavern. Then it is decided, Sung said. We are not exiles anymore. We are not prisoners. From this day forward we are citizens of something new. We are the lunar free colony. Cheers echoed off the ice walls. People embraced each other, crying and laughing at the same time. Later that night, Min came to Sung with extraordinary news. A young woman named Young had given birth to a healthy baby boy. He was the first child conceived and born entirely at Omega 7. Sung visited the new mother in the medical center. Young held her son with tears of joy on her face. What will you name him? Sung asked. Young looked up at him. Ha, she said. It means sky because he will never have limits. Sung looked at the tiny baby, born into a world of ice and stone and recycled air, born into a community that refused to die. Welcome to the moon, Ha, he whispered. You are the first of many. Outside, Earth hung in the black sky. On its surface, the powerful elite counted their money and made their plans. They had no idea that 1,000 forgotten people were building a future that would change everything. The revolution was growing. Worthless moon base becomes a thriving colony. Earth's elite didn't expect this secret, Part 4. 1 year had passed since Sung arrived at Omega 7. The station was almost unrecognizable now, at least in the sections hidden from official view. Clean corridors replaced rusty walls. Bright lights replaced flickering bulbs. Healthy plants grew in farms that stretched through multiple levels. The population had grown to 1,200. Some were new exiles from Earth. Others had arrived through more unusual means. One had discovered that several exile transport ships had been reported lost in transit over the years. In truth, their navigation systems had been quietly adjusted. The ships landed at Omega 7 instead of their intended destinations. Administrator Gong noticed nothing. He spent most of his time in his quarters, drinking recycled alcohol and waiting for his own death. The real leaders of the station were the people, organized into councils that made decisions together. Then the message came that changed everything. One intercepted the transmission on a Wednesday morning. His face was pale when he found Sung in the engineering section. We have a problem, one said, a big problem. The message was from GPC headquarters on Earth. An official inspection had been ordered for Omega 7, not a routine supply ship captain glancing around for 5 minutes. A full inspection by Director Sung-ho himself. "Who is Director?" Min asked when the inner circle gathered. "One of the highest-ranking GPC officials," one explained. "He manages all off-world facilities. He has the authority to make decisions without consulting anyone else." "Why is he coming now?" asked. "They were planning to abandon us in another year. Why inspect a station they intend to let die?" Nobody had a good answer, but the message was clear. Director would arrive in 14 days. Panic spread through the community when the news became public. Everything they had built, everything they had hidden, was now at risk. Du called an emergency meeting in the main cavern. Nearly 600 people came, filling the space with worried faces and frightened whispers. "We have two choices," Sung told them. "We can try to hide everything again, make the station look like it did before, pretend we are still dying slowly." "Can we do that in 2 weeks?" someone called out. "Maybe," Sung admitted, "but there is a second choice." The crowd went silent. "We can stop hiding. We can show Director what we have built. We can demand recognition as an independent colony." The silence stretched for several heartbeats. Then arguments erupted from all sides. Some people said it was suicide. The GPC would send military forces. They would all be killed or worse. Others said it was their only real chance. Hiding forever was not possible. Old Ho raised his hand, and gradually the crowd quieted. "I am an old man," he said in his gentle voice. "I have lived most of my life under the GPC's control. They told me what to eat, what to think, what to believe. When I tried to stand up for myself, they sent me here to die." He paused and looked around at the faces watching him. "But I did not die. None of us died. We built something beautiful in this place of exile. We built a community, a home, a future. If we hide that away because we are afraid, then we are still prisoners. We are still controlled by their fear." He straightened his old back. "I say we show them who we have become. Whatever happens next, at least we will face it as free people." The vote was not unanimous, but it was clear. The majority chose to reveal themselves. The next 2 weeks were the most intense in the colony's history. They did not hide their improvements. Instead, they made everything shine. They cleaned corridors, painted walls, organized displays of their achievements, prepared the children to show their schoolwork, arranged tour of the farms. Du's teams made sure every system ran perfectly. Min organized the medical center to demonstrate their healthcare capabilities. Director's shuttle landed on a cold Tuesday morning. He emerged with a security team of 6 armed guards, all wearing the black uniforms of the GPC Enforcement Division. Himself was 55 years old with silver hair and cold eyes. He had spent his entire career serving the elite families who ruled Earth. He expected to find a dying station full of broken people. What he found instead made him stop in his tracks. The corridor from the landing bay was clean and bright. Healthy people walked past with purpose in their steps. A group of children ran by, laughing about something their teacher had said. "What is this?" demanded. Sung stepped forward. He wore clean clothes and stood with confidence. "Welcome to the Lunar Free Colony, Director. I am Sung. Let me show you what we have built." For the next 6 hours, toured the station in stunned silence. He saw the farms that produced enough food for 2,000 people. He saw the workshops that manufactured tools and equipment. He saw the schools where children learned science and mathematics and art. Then they took him underground. The ice caverns left him speechless. Explained the geology, the estimated water reserves, the mineral deposits worth trillions. "You knew," finally said, his voice strange. "You knew all of this was here." "We discovered it," Sung replied, "after the GPC buried the information and left us to die." His face went through several expressions. Shock became understanding. Understanding became calculation. Calculation became greed. "This changes things," he said slowly. This changes everything. He stepped away and activated his communication device. Sung watched him speak quietly with someone on Earth. The conversation lasted several minutes. When returned, his expression had hardened. "I have informed headquarters of the situation," he announced. "Given the strategic value of these resources, the GPC is taking immediate control of this facility. Military forces will arrive within 72 hours to secure the area." "And the people here?" asked. Shrugged. "Workers will be needed. The skilled ones will be useful. The others." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. "So you will take everything we built," Sung said quietly. "You will steal our home and our future." "We will restore proper order," corrected. "You are all criminals, remember. You have no rights. You never did." He turned to leave. His guards formed a protective circle around him. 72 hours, he repeated. "I suggest you prepare for the transition." When shuttle departed, the colony gathered in the main cavern. Fear hung in the air like fog. 72 hours until military ships arrived. 72 hours until everything ended. But Sung was not afraid. He had been preparing for this moment. He said, "Tell them about the tunnels." Stepped forward with a tablet showing detailed maps. "In my 5 years of exploration, I found something else. The old mining tunnels extend far beyond this crater. They connect to other abandoned bases on the far side of the moon." "Other bases?" Du asked. 11 of them, confirmed. All classified as failures by the GPC, all used as small prison stations, all abandoned to die like Omega-7. Sung addressed the crowd. "We are not the only forgotten people on the moon. There are thousands of others, scattered across the far side, living in the same despair we once knew." He activated a communication system that one had built in secret over the past months. "I am broadcasting to every abandoned station we could find," Sung said. "I am telling them what we have discovered here. I am offering them a choice." The message went out into the silence of space. It traveled through hidden relay points, through old communication lines that the GPC had forgotten existed. Within hours, the responses started coming. "Station Gamma 3, 87 people, ready to join." "Station Delta 9, 140 people, send us instructions." "Station Epsilon 12, 206 people, we are with you." By the end of the day, 12 stations had answered. Over 3,000 people, scattered across the moon's far side, ready to stand together. "The GPC expects to find 1,000 helpless prisoners," Sung told his people. "They will find an army of the forgotten. They will find humanity." In the communications room, one prepared the most important broadcast of all, not to the lunar stations, to Earth. To every screen, every device, every person living under GPC control. The people of Earth would learn the truth about what their leaders had hidden. They would learn what ordinary humans could achieve when they refused to give up. The revolution was no longer a whisper. It was about to become a roar. Worthless moon base becomes a thriving colony. Earth's elite didn't expect this secret, Part 5. The GPC military fleet entered lunar orbit exactly 72 hours after Director departed. 5 heavy transport ships carrying 2,000 soldiers, enough force to crush any resistance from a prison station of exiles. But Commander Oh-min, leader of the fleet, immediately noticed something wrong. His sensors detected activity across the moon's far side. Heat signatures, power emissions, communication signals from bases that were supposed to be dead. "Sir," his lieutenant reported, "we are receiving transmissions from multiple lunar facilities. They are all broadcasting the same message." Min frowned. "What message?" The lieutenant played the recording. A calm male voice filled the command center. "This is Sung of the Lunar Free Colony. We are 15,000 united people across 12 stations. We have water, food, and resources. We will not submit to the GPC. We will not be conquered. We will be free. Min stared at the speakers in disbelief. 15,000, 12 stations. The GPC files said these were dying facilities with a few hundred scattered prisoners each. What had happened? He contacted Director on Earth for orders. Response was immediate and harsh. Proceed with the operation. Secure the primary station. Arrest the leaders. Use whatever force is necessary. Min did not like this. He had joined the military to protect people, not to attack unarmed civilians, but orders were orders. The fleet descended toward Omega-7. Inside the station, Sung watched the ships approach on the main screen. Around him, people worked calmly at their posts. Deuce teams had spent the past 3 days converting mining equipment into defensive systems. They were not soldiers, but they were not helpless either. "They are landing," reported from her monitoring station. "Is the broadcast ready?" Sung asked one. One nodded. His fingers hovered over a control panel, ready to transmit to every screen on Earth. "Wait for my signal," Sung said. "Let them make the first move." The military ships landed around the station's perimeter. Soldiers emerged in combat suits, carrying weapons designed for vacuum warfare. They moved toward the main airlocks with trained precision. Commander Min led from the front. He reached the primary airlock and activated the external communication system. "This is Commander O. Min of the Global Prosperity Council Enforcement Division. Open this door immediately and surrender. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." There was a long pause, then a new voice came through the speakers. It was, "Commander, before you proceed, I need you to see something. Check your personal device." Min hesitated, then activated his handheld screen. A video was playing, broadcast directly to every soldier in his unit. It showed clean corridors, healthy families, children in schools. It showed ice caverns and farms and medical facilities. It showed people building a future instead of waiting to die. "The GPC told you we are criminals," continued. "Dangerous people who deserve to rot in prison, but look at us. We are teachers, doctors, farmers, engineers. Our crimes were asking questions, publishing truth, refusing to hurt others." The soldiers shifted uncomfortably. Many of them came from common families on Earth. Their parents and siblings struggled under GPC control just like everyone else. "You can attack us," said. "You can follow orders and destroy everything you see in that video. But first, ask yourself one question. Who benefits if you do?" Min stood motionless at the airlock. His lieutenant approached him quietly. "Sir, the soldiers are talking. Many of them have family members who disappeared to lunar stations. They are wondering if their relatives are here." "That is exactly what the enemy wants," Min replied, but his voice lacked conviction. Inside the station, Sung gave the signal. One pressed the transmit button. On Earth, every screen flickered. Televisions, phones, computers, public displays. Every device connected to the global network suddenly showed the same image, Sung standing in front of the ice caverns. "People of Earth," Sung said, "I am broadcasting from the moon. I am one of the millions your leaders have thrown away over the years, sent to die on abandoned stations while the GPC told you nothing existed here worth saving." The image shifted to show the ice walls, the mineral deposits, the maps of hidden resources. For decades, the GPC has known about these treasures. Water, metals, rare elements worth more than you can imagine. They buried this information. They let people suffer in artificial scarcity while keeping abundance for themselves. Images of the colony flashed across screens worldwide. Families eating together, children learning, people building and creating and living. We were supposed to die quietly. Instead, we built a civilization. We proved that ordinary humans, when given the chance, can achieve extraordinary things. On Earth, people stopped in the streets to watch. They gathered in public squares, in homes, in workplaces. For the first time, they saw what had been hidden from them. Right now, Sung continued, GPC military forces are preparing to attack us. They want to silence this message and take control of resources that belong to all of humanity, not just the elite. The broadcast showed the military ships surrounding Omega-7. It showed the soldiers with their weapons raised. But the choice is not just theirs. It is also yours. Will you accept what your leaders have done? Will you let them steal humanity's future for their own profit? The transmission ended. Silence stretched across the moon and Earth alike. At the airlock, Commander Min's communication device buzzed with urgent messages. Reports were flooding in from Earth, protests erupting in major cities, crowds surrounding GPC headquarters, soldiers on the ground refusing to suppress the demonstrations. His lieutenant spoke again. "Sir, we are receiving orders from Director. He demands immediate assault." Min looked at the airlock. Behind it were 15,000 people who had built something remarkable, people who reminded him of his own family, struggling on Earth while the elite lived in luxury. He thought about his oath to protect humanity. He thought about what protection really meant. "No," he said quietly. "Sorry." "I said no." Min deactivated his weapon. "Tell the men to stand down. We are not attacking anyone today." The lieutenant stared at him, then slowly he smiled. "Yes, sir." Aboard the command ship, Min contacted Director directly. "Director, I am refusing your order. My soldiers and I will not attack unarmed civilians who have done nothing but survive." His face twisted with rage on the screen. "You are committing treason. I will have you executed." "You will have to catch me first," Min replied. "And I do not think you have many people left willing to follow your orders." He cut the transmission. On Earth, the protests grew larger by the hour. The GPC tried to suppress the broadcasts, but the information was already everywhere. People saw the truth and they were angry. Within days, crowds surrounded GPC offices in every major city. The elite families who had controlled humanity for generations tried to maintain their grip. But their power depended on soldiers and police who were, in the end, ordinary people with ordinary families. When those soldiers refused to obey, the power crumbled. It took 3 weeks for the Global Prosperity Council to fall completely. Some elite families fled to private bunkers. Others were arrested by the very guards who once protected them. The largest transfer of power in human history happened without a single battle being fought. 5 years later, Sung stood on the surface of the moon, looking at a city that had not existed when he arrived as a prisoner. Domes stretched across the crater. Green plants grew behind glass walls. Children played in gravity-controlled parks. The Lunar Federation had become the first independent space nation, recognized by every government on Earth. Other colonies were being built on Mars, in the asteroid belt, on the moons of Jupiter. Humanity was finally reaching for the stars. Beside him stood, older now but still vibrant with purpose. She had become the Federation's chief agricultural scientist, developing techniques that fed millions. "Do you ever think about how it started?" she asked. Sung smiled. "I think about it every day. A broken station, a group of people who refused to give up, a secret hidden beneath the surface." "What was the real secret?" asked. "The water, the minerals." Sung shook his head. "No, the secret was never about resources. It was about people, about what humans can achieve when they work together instead of being controlled. The GPC never understood that. They thought they could measure our worth in productivity and obedience. They were wrong." In the nursery dome, young Sun Ha was now 5 years old. He ran through the gardens with other children, playing games and laughing. He had never known hunger or fear. He had never been told that he was worthless. He was the future. That evening, Old Ho gathered the children for his nightly story. He was 82 now, white-haired and slow-moving, but his voice was still strong. "Tell us about the moon people again," little Mia requested. She was 10 now and wanted to become a starship pilot someday. Ho smiled his gentle smile. "Ah, the moon people. They were the forgotten ones, thrown away by the powerful, but they discovered something precious hidden in the darkness. Not just water and minerals, but something more important. They discovered their own strength." The children listened with shining eyes. They built a world where everyone mattered. They showed humanity what was possible, and because of them, they now dream of reaching distant stars. He looked around at the young faces, the children of the revolution. "You are those," he said. "Never forget where you came from. Never forget what your people achieved. And never let anyone tell you that you are worthless." Above them, through the transparent dome, Earth hung in the black sky, blue and beautiful and finally free. And across the solar system, on a dozen new colonies, the children of the forgotten were building futures that the elite had never imagined possible. The secret was out, and it had changed everything.